This is music, and this is a bunch of drop-off albums. This is a response to the Rock Beast. Check out his channel. He recently started a thread, which I think is kind of interesting, is because it's kind of different. The idea is to show 5 drop-off albums from your collection. A drop-off album is an album that kind of dips in quality compared to the album that came before it. Or maybe an album that you're just disappointed with compared to the album that came before it. Or maybe an album that you dislike so much compared to the album that came before it, that you just lost interest in the artist, gave up on them altogether. So I thought this is kind of a fun and different theme. So I figured I wanted to contribute to the thread. So here are 5 drop-off albums from my collection. So up first we have Promised Land by Queensrÿche. Now this is not a drop-off album to me. It's a drop-off album to a lot of people because it's not as exciting and catchy and melodic as Empire, but I still quite like this album. It's dark, it's brooding, it is progressive in my opinion, and it's innovative and it's original, so I actually quite enjoy listening to it. However, the following album, that's the drop-off album to me, Here in the Now Frontier. This is a terrible album. It's Queensrÿche trying to make a grunge / alternative rock album. All the songs are boring. The vocals sound weak. I don't enjoy listening to this album one bit. It's terrible in my opinion. And to me it was the beginning of a long downward spiral creatively for this band that only ended, again to me, when they got Todd Latour in on vocals. So I don't like this. This is my drop-off album in the Queensrÿche discography. Okay, up next we have this one here, And the Glass-Handed Kites by Mew. This is an art rock album, alternative art rock with progressive leanings for sure. The songs are super interesting. They are kind of hard-hitting. The guitar tone is kind of heavy but also kind of twangy, and I think that's very interesting. You have some great vocal melodies. It's just an album I enjoy listening to a lot. It rocks my world. It's different, it's weird, but that's what I like about Mew. It was followed by this one here. No more stories are told today. I'm sorry, they've washed away. No more stories. The world is gray. I'm tired, let's wash away. That's the title of this album. And this is not a bad album. It's an art pop album, I would say. It just doesn't rock my world as much as And the Glass-Handed Kites and the other albums they did before this. It's still sophisticated, it's still arty, it's still weird, but it just doesn't do it for me as much. You know, I listen to it occasionally, and you know, I skip back and forth. I skip a lot of songs. I never skip any songs when I listen to the Glass-Handed Kites. So not a bad album, just doesn't rock my world. And although it's not a bad album, it is a drop-off album also in the sense that after this one I kind of stopped following Mew, and I haven't bought a Mew release since. I should probably go and check out, you know, their more recent stuff and see what it's like. Okay, up next, Cryptic Writings. This is a drop-off album, I think, to a lot of people. I don't hate it. I kind of enjoy listening to it every now and then. There's some good songs on here, so I'm fine with it. But Risk, which kind of follows, that's my drop-off album. I don't like it. I think it's boring. There's nothing memorable on it, in my opinion. No interesting riffs, no catchy guitar solos. There's just nothing on this that I appreciate, I guess, other than the fact that there's a cat on it. I guess that's about it. It's a rock album. I don't have a problem with you know, metal bands starting doing classic rock albums, or thrash bands doing classic rock albums, or, you know, any musical artist changing their musical direction. I don't have a problem with that, but I'm under no obligation to liking the album that's going in a new musical direction if it's something that doesn't appeal to me. That's the case here. It just doesn't appeal to me. Okay, up next, this is gonna be controversial. It'll make a lot of people angry. And Justice for All. This is not my drop-off album. I love this album. I think it's great. I mean, the production is kind of wonky, but at the same time, it's become kind of iconic. I can't imagine this album having another guitar tone. I can't imagine this with a bass on it, you know what I mean? But I think this is a great album. It's a thrash metal album for sure. You have your, you know, your fast songs, you have a lot of long songs, and it's not a progressive metal album, but the songs are still very complex. Each song is a riff fest. You have a million riffs per song, so it's really interesting to listen to. It's a thrash metal album, really enjoyable, really like it. It was followed up by one of the greatest, or maybe not greatest, but biggest metal albums in the history of popular music. This is one of the albums that made metal go mainstream. This is a drop-off album to me. I don't dislike it, obviously. I went out of my way to pick up the reissue. There are a lot of songs on here that I enjoy. I like the guitar tone, I like the production, but at the same time, I cannot lie, I was disappointed when this came out, and I still kind of am, because it wasn't And Justice for All. Again, I'm fine with artists making, you know, changes in their musical direction, but fans are not under any obligation to, you know, they don't have to like what the artists put out, is what I'm trying to say. And I was disappointed with this one because it wasn't thrash metal. It was, you know, traditional heavy metal. The songs were simple. It wasn't as interesting to me as And Justice for All. And also, I don't think this album has aged particularly well, to be perfectly honest with you. So I don't hate it, but it's an album I'm ambivalent about. It's an album that disappointed me. I don't think it's aged very well. Still, it's an album that I really, you know, enjoy listening to. And it has, you know, some good songs on it. And one of the reasons why a lot of us really liked it back then was that finally Metallica made some songs that were simple enough that we could actually learn to play Metallica songs from beginning to end. But yeah, at the end of the day, it did disappoint me. I'm still ambivalent about it. I don't think it's aged very well. So the last one is, we all know this one, Hysteria by Def Leppard, came out in '87. Massive hit. You know, great melodies on here, great riffs. I really like the futuristic kind of sound it has. The lyrics are kind of stupid, to be honest, but whatever. Great guitar work. I really enjoy listening to this album. The lyrics are stupid and it's a bit long. I always feel like that when I listen to it, that it could have been a bit shorter, or it feels long at least, but I enjoy listening to it. It was followed by Adrenalize, which I don't even have in my collection anymore. I used to have it. I don't know what happened to it. Probably gave it away. Adrenalize, boring as shit to me. I don't enjoy listening to it. I bought it back when it came out. I gave it so many chances, you know, several months I listened to it constantly. It never did anything for me, to be perfectly honest. And Adrenalize was one of those albums that made me just lose interest in the band completely. I still love this one, and I still love all the albums that came out before this, but anything they released after this, I'm just not interested. I have checked out, including their most recent one. I have checked them out, and they just don't do it for me. Now, obviously, part of it is that Steve Clark, he's on here, you know, great guitarist. He's underrated, and obviously he passed away sadly, and he wasn't on Adrenalize. And it was, I think the loss of Steve Clark was a great loss to Def Leppard's sound and their music. So Adrenalize, I don't even have it anymore. I'm not sad that I don't have it, because I just don't like it. So there you go. Technically 4 drop-off albums from my collection, because one of them has disappeared mysteriously. But yeah, that was it. I'm sure a lot of people hate me now for having the drop-off albums that I do, but you know what you're gonna do. Like I said, fans are under no obligations to, you know, they don't have to like everything that their favorite artists release. You cannot expect people to just blindly like everything you release. So if there's a change in musical direction, artists just have to accept that not all fans will like it. At the same time, music fans will have to accept that their favorite bands will change things up every now and then, and you know, maybe they will make some albums that you don't like, drop off albums, and that's fine. You know, just move on. Just don't listen to them, don't buy them, whatever. So yeah, 4 drop-off albums in my collection technically. Thanks for watching.